Well, the aim of the project since the beginning is really to make some kind of investigation regarding the question of memory. The concept of memory is very important for me, let's say generally speaking, but mainly also in my work. And when I had this commission in 2009 from the Siemens Foundation, I was going to one of the big offices of Siemens in Paris. And I decided really that I wanted to work on the intimacy of people. Because they were, in a way, all looking the same. And it was quite, in a way, surprising that when you are facing something like 1,500 people, you cannot, even if they are wearing the same, even if they have the same kind of behavior, you cannot believe that inside of them, in their intimacy, there is not something very specific, very personal. So I decided to make some interview with them and to just ask them to give me some memories which were important for them. And finally, this is really Passage. Passage, I mean, it's really a place to share memories. As far as somebody is entering there, he can listen and interact with the memory of somebody else. And I like very much this idea, for me as a composer, to do not only be an artist who would create some relationship between the audience and the music or the work I am producing only in this, let's say, concert typical environment where the time is fixed, where the space is fixed. Here it's completely different. I cannot control at all what is going on there. And as an artist I am, let's say, there is this French word which is called passeur, to pass. So to give something to one person, from a person to another one, as a gift in a way. And I like very much this idea that in my work, in this specific work, I was really dealing with this question. I would say also that Passage is really something which is completely organic. When you are entering in the tunnel, immediately you have some kind of interaction that you cannot really control, but you feel that the tunnel is reacting on the fact that there is somebody or not. The lights are switching on, the sound is switching on. If you start to move, the sound will follow your movement, the position where you are inside of the tunnel. So you are establishing some kind of intimate relationship with the object itself. And because it's a big object, it's an object which is in a way bigger than you, it becomes immediately something very, let's say, organic, special. And the interaction itself shows, and I have plenty of examples when I was observing people, how they were managing with the sound. It's extremely interesting to discover that there is a double interaction. Of course, what I was realizing through this project is that there is a computer, there are some sensors which are analyzing where is the person and how fast this person is moving. So this is the interaction from the human gesture to the computer. But I also discover, because of certain sounds are immediately touching us, because they are linked with our personal memories, that there is another interaction from the computer to the human being. In a way that the sounds are starting to stimulate also the behavior of the people. So you will see, for example, people who are starting to dance or starting to pray or starting to raise up hands or to just have some, let's say, strange movement inside of the tunnel, just because the sounds are stimulating something. So this double interaction is also one of the aim of the project. regarding the question of methodology concerning this work, the principles are always the same. As I said, there are few different versions of Passage in terms of the contents. And I have been working since 2009 on 5-6 different versions dealing with topics such as the time, the intimacy of people. One version was dedicated to Pierre Jodlowski, and this recent version, the last one, in the context of Wrocław, European Capital of Culture. I would say, independently of the subject, the procedure is strictly always the same. The thing is always to try to give the word to some people and to interact since the beginning with the people, which means that I am organizing some interviews with some person who will give me some testimonies, some memories regarding the subject itself. And for me this is very important to have this the fact that we are not, let's say, in a way completely controlling what will reach Passage at the end, which sounds will be there. Then after that, the second step is really to realize the memories themselves based on what we have been collecting. So this is the longest part, I would say. It's work in a studio, lots of sound recording, digging into some archives, mixing them and so on. And I have to say, and I will develop this a little bit later regarding the technique, that Passage is quite complicated program, the program which is controlling what is going on inside. So there are some very strict rules in order to make those sounds. Basically, I must create one main sound for each memory. This sound is something between like 30 and 40 seconds. And after that, I need to make a lot of little variations of these sounds, exactly 14, which will be used in the interactive mode, which I will explain a little bit later. And then finally, when I have, let's say, something like 30, 40, 50 sounds for one, let's say, specific topic, I put the sounds in some kind of global matrix in the computer, and I am programming how each sounds will, in a way, have some kind of evolution, some kind of distortions according to what the people are doing. So there are, let's say, 3 basic layers in the process. The first one is collecting, the second one is to make sound in the studio, and the third one is to really work very precisely on the interaction elements. Regarding this version about Wrocław city, it was a very long work, very long preparation. First of all, to establish the process within the context of Capital of Culture, to find the proper partners, to find people who wanted to have the installation. So finally it was presented in National Forum of Music, which is a fantastic place for this project. And I was, of course, working with a lot of people here in Wrocław, and those people were really, able to help me. First of all, because I am not Polish, and maybe my knowledge about this city, even if it's, I would say, an interesting knowledge in a way that it's more a European glance that I can have on Wrocław. But anyway, it was very important that I could have some help from people, native people from Wrocław. One of the person who really worked with me was Sławek Wieczorek, and Sławek was really helpful in a way that he was helping me to find access to some specific archives, the archives of the radio, the archives of the television, also some archives from his own, let's say, network in musicology. So that was extremely rich for me to be able to embrace a very, let's say, wide range of contents. And so finally we have some kind of description of the city, but it is sometimes some very personal memories of people who experience something specific in in the city. It can be some collective memories through some extract of the archives, of the film archives, for instance, where we can see some people who are giving some testimonies from the 60s, from the 70s, where the city was, of course, completely different than now. So there is extremely wide range coverings from something which are, let's say, even more abstract, like the question of the water in Wrocław, or the question of ancient music in Wrocław, to something which are extremely, let's say, coming from everyday life. So we can hear some people walking in the street, we can hear some demonstration sounds, sounds which are linked with some specific events. And of course, I was also working a lot with the people from the group which is called Audiosphere, and I was able also even to use few of their sounds that they were already collecting in a way. So we were really making this specific version under the sign of, you know, sharing knowledge, sharing sounds. And I like very much this idea that, you know, sounds is not only something that you manipulate, it's also something that you can give to another person, like something very, very precious. And by the way, all these experiences were extremely precious.
Karbonka, do której składa się ofiary, ma kształt rotundy, gdzie wreszcie znajdzie schronienie panorama Racławicka. Karbonka, do której...
Well, people, when they are entering in the tunnel, the first reaction is that they are surprised in a way, because it was dark and silent, and suddenly it's a lot of sounds and the lights are on. So they have these, let's say, first seconds of taming the process, of taming that, you know, something is going on around them. And after, it's very important to say that passage is divided. When you are crossing the tunnel, it's divided in two moments. There is a first moment which is, let's say, that you are just entering and moving constantly, and in this case you just hear a sound, one of the memories which is inside of the matrix, but nothing very specific happened. But if you stop a few seconds, then you will really enter in what I call the interactive mode. And in this mode you are really controlling what is going on with the sound. I will explain a little bit later some more, let's say, technical details, but let's consider that you are really becoming some kind of head of the lecture of the sound. So if you go backward, the sound will in a way go backward. If you move quick or fast or with some kind of speed movements, the tunnel will start to react with some more, let's say, accidental sounds in a way. So this organic state that I was mentioning is able finally to give really a kind of mirror of the personality of the person who are inside of the tunnel. So let's say we can have young children who will run very quickly and have a lot of fun to create some flashes and some, you know, let's say, nervous sound. On the contrary, we can have some, let's say, person who is entering inside of the tunnel and suddenly hear some sounds, and for this person it can be meditative, so this person will move extremely slowly. So I would say that there is, of course, not one, let's say, behavior or one reception of this installation. There are as much opinion and feelings and perception as there are some people crossing the tunnel. regarding the question of technique, in few words, when I started to work on the project, I was trying, let's say, different strategies regarding the motion capture. I was thinking about the usage of a camera, about different sensors, and finally I was finding some very, very simple idea, and I think that in complex installations, in terms of result, the most difficult is to find simple ideas which is enabling you to work in a complex way. And this idea was just to put 16 sensors, which are infrared sensor, on the floor, and which are in a way just sending one simple information, which is where is the person in front of which sensor. So the distance between a sensor is quite short. It's something like 40 centimeters. So as soon as the person is moving just a little bit, a new sensor is triggered, and the computer, the program, knows exactly where the person is. And with this I make, after quite complex treatment, and I'm trying to deduce from the position a lot of information, like is the person stable, or is this person moving a lot? Is this person going straight forward or going straight forward and coming back, which is something very important when you are in a tunnel. If you decide to turn, of course it's something which is quite important, and so on and so on. So there are some analyze, I would say, from the position in order to create some behaviors, and those behaviors are then controlling a lot of parameters regarding the sound and also the light. So in a way, I was saying already that there is this main sound, which is one memory. When you enter in the tunnel, you trigger, let's say, one sound, one memory. And when you are entering in this interactive mode, I am using a technique which is called granular synthesis, which is quite well known today, but which is very efficient because you can really freeze the sound on one position. So I am making some kind of transposition between time and space. The space of the tunnel is corresponding, let's say, to the length of the sound. So if you are going backward, you will stabilize this granular synthesis system around the beginning of the sound. So you will freeze, in a way, the beginning of the sound. And on the contrary, if you go at the end of the sound, you will freeze the end of the sound. So what is interesting is that when you have a sound which is inside of those 30-40 seconds containing some little dramaturgy, I would say. I remember, for example, there are some sounds from the war, some kind of reconstitution of some memories of people during the war. And in this sound, which is 35 seconds long, there are a lot of different information. We can hear some bombing in the beginning, then some scream, then a car which is passing by, or a plane which is passing by, and so on. And so, according to where you are exactly in the tunnel, you can really dig this specific aspect of the sound. And of course, the final thing that I would like to say regarding the technique, but also the dramaturgy of Passage, it becomes in a way a little bit philosophical, because for me, memories, sounding memories, which are inside of Passage, are extremely precious for the reason that I was already saying, because it's the result of a long work with a lot of people, and I want the visitors to take care about this. So I was creating a little system which is leading to a kind of explosion. This is a metaphor, a virtual explosion of the tunnel if you are not taking care in a way, which means that if somebody is entering and starting to run, to move, let's say very quickly, it means that this person is not really taking care, this person is not really listening. And in this case, the sound will very quickly distort, will be distorted, the lights are becoming, let's say, very unstable, and after a while, if this person is continuing doing this kind of gesture, the tunnel will just explode. It will be no more sound, no more light, and the person is facing a kind of very sad loneliness inside of the tunnel. And I liked also this metaphor in order to just underline how strong and important the memories are.